Hey, Lindsay, how are you?
Hey, Michelle, I'm doing excellent today. Things are good. I'm in Boston visiting my family, so I'm feeling great. How are you?
That's good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Um, I've been reading a lot recently,
Ah,
more than I had for a while. What happens to me is I will read a ton of books. I will be super into it, and then I I'll have maybe a book I didn't like, or I just won't be able to find the next book that I want, and I lose that momentum, and then I don't read for a long time, and then I need something really good to get me back into it. But now I've gotten back in the habit of getting into bed and reading at
cool,
night, but I have a
Michelle.
very hard time staying awake.
Well, that's fantastic. That is such a so here's a great expression for that, kind of an on again, off again relationship with books, right? On again, off, but it's a
Mm.
good thing. You're on again. Right? You're on
Yes,
again with your
yes.
relationship with reading, which is so nice. That's better than me. I'm always on my phone reading the New York Times. But lately I have been craving a good novel, right? Especially being here at the
Yeah.
beach. Like you just want to read a good novel at the
Oh,
beach.
yeah.
But that's
Yes,
cool. That's cool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today we have a listener question about reading. I'm excited to talk about. I think this is going to be really fun. And guys, wait until the end of the episode because if you are listening on Spotify, we have a poll. We want to get some listener interaction. We want to get your opinion on this poll question and hear your experience. So wait until the end because you will get this poll. But before we do that, we actually have results from another poll we did on another
Yay.
episode 2062, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, and I was really excited to see what you guys thought of this, right? Because
Mhm.
people have different philosophies, and I was wondering if that philosophy could be cultural too, Michelle. What was our poll
Yeah.
question?
Well, the topic of the episode was about international travel with kids. So it was
Yeah.
international travel with your kids in tow. Tell us what you think. And so the question we asked you guys was, do you think it's good to take a big trip with kids?
Mm.
And because I am very pro, and so it looks like, and I'm pleasantly surprised to see a lot of people agree. And that's okay if you don't, but 70% of our listeners who took the poll said yes, it's good to take a big trip. And
76%, right, Michelle?
yes,
76.
76
That's a
and
big
20.
yeah.
Yeah, that is a big, and 24% said no. So that is really interesting. These polls are so much fun.
I know, they're really cool. It's cool. I know we got a great question after that episode too from our listener Miho in Japan, and she wants a follow-up, Michelle, so we'll get into that another day. But I think our
Okay.
listeners love that idea of talking about international travel. Our listeners are raising bilingual kids, right? And
Mhm.
bicultural kids, and we're traveling, we're becoming citizens of the world. So we can talk about this topic a bit more, I think. But thanks guys for voting in the poll. And
Yes.
make sure you listen in today because we'll have our next big poll at the end of today's episode. All right.
That is right. Okay, love it. So, Lindsay, could you read the question for us?
Yeah. So here is the question. So our listener says, I'm your listener from Ukraine, and I'm so grateful for your podcast. They help me so much with learning English. And it would be cool if you would discuss in your podcast about your favorite books and about conditionals. Thank you. It's from a listener. I can't read their name, but we appreciate you. And amazing. Two very different questions here, Michelle, though.
Yeah. So we can do conditionals another time. We do have things on conditionals,
Yes.
other episodes. So definitely something where you could search
Yes.
um for an episode on conditionals because that's something we have covered, but we can always do more. So we're gonna focus on the reading question today.
Yeah, and I would recommend to this listener or any other listener who has a very specific grammar question, write to us, but make it very specific. So don't, instead of just saying conditionals, it's very broad, right? We want a very
Mm.
specific question, something you heard that was confusing. We love answering those questions. All right. But today, let's
Yes.
get into some books.
Let's do it. So, we are going to talk about books today. And just books really make me happy. I like to read. So, guys, if you want to listen to another All Ears English episode, we have 2077 is What Makes You Happy? How to Teach Someone in English for Connection.
Oh,
But
such a good skill.
now to,
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
now to books.
Yeah, and go back
Yeah.
and check out that episode, guys, because I know, Michelle, you've shared with us, you and your brother tease each other a lot, right? And in your
Yes,
family, this is something you see in families among very close friends. It is really a cool way to build connection. So you guys want that English to be able to do it with the people that matter in your life. Okay, go check it out.
definitely, definitely. And actually, I get pretty good recommendations for books from my brother, and I'll recommend books to him. So, Lindsay, what kind of books do you like?
Oh, well, it's a funny that we're talking about this because you're reading a lot and I'm at my parents' house and I just sold a bookshelf actually. I sold the bookshelf, or rather, I gave it away and we had to clear some books and we had to donate books and we had to choose which ones to keep. I like
Mm.
adventure books. So I just picked off the
Hmm.
shelf this book. It's called The Heart of the Sea.
Hmm.
It's by Nathaniel Philbrick. It's the tragedy of the whale ship, the Essex. And because I'm in New England, there's been a lot of whale ship tragedies or just shipwrecks here.
Oh,
Some
wow.
ships have washed up right here on our block back in the 1800s. Yeah, and
Wow.
so I love getting into that when I'm near the sea. I want to read like a sea adventure
Yeah.
novel. And it's a famous book as well. It won a what is this? A what's the National Books Award winner. So, that is my one of my favorite books, Michelle. What do you like to read?
Wait, what is it called again? The Heart of the
In the
Sea?
Heart of the Sea.
In the Heart of the Sea.
It's a New York
Okay.
Times
Uh,
bestseller. Yeah. Mhm.
what do I like to read? I mean, I like all different things. I do like mystery. I like yeah, I like something that's just gonna keep my attention. I really need something to keep my
Okay.
attention.
Yeah.
I like historical fiction a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of my favorite books are historical fiction, but I would say, th thrillers, but not like scary thrillers. I have had to stop a book because it was too scary.
Really? Do you do horror
Yes.
movies?
No,
You don't
no,
do them?
no, no.
Okay.
Do
Okay.
you?
I do. I'll do it, and then I regret it for, like, a week because I can't sleep for a
Yeah.
week, but I'll do them.
No. I mean, I have, but, like, I prefer not.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I there was one book, and still to this day, I remember what it was that freaked me out, and I like, every once in a while when I'm in bed at night, I'll think of it and I get scared.
That's hilarious. Well, what about the classics, Michelle? Because right now this microphone is sitting on top of Shakespeare, and I I probably have a
Oh.
lot of work to do when it comes to the classics. Have you done that? I mean, Moby Dick. Have you done the classics, and do you reread them, or do you kind of not into it as much?
I think in school, I probably did a lot of the classics, but there's so many classics that I actually would like to read. That's It's always on my list,
Yeah,
and then what happens, I get kind of into just, like, a new book,
sure.
and the classics, I don't get into it. Lindsay, that's a good word, though. What does that mean by the classics?
Oh my gosh, I mean, these are classic pieces of literature, The Great Gatsby, Moby Dick, uh, there are just Robinson Crusoe, there's so many of them, I'm just looking
Oh,
at the
yeah, I did
bookshelf right now.
Robinson
Right, I
Crusoe,
mean,
yeah.
there's just so many and the thing is, there are still a lot of cultural references that come from the classics,
Yeah.
classic literature,
Yes.
which I think we could
Oh.
probably do some episodes on one day. Yeah.
Yes, one of them, so there's a l I'm thinking even Flowers for Algernon,
Mhm.
then there's also, Lord of the Flies?
Oh, yeah, of course, we read that in
Yeah,
school, I think.
that's
Yeah.
basically, like, all the kids take over and everything
Yes.
goes,
Yes.
and
Yes.
sometimes that is we should do an episode on this, on book references, but I'll just say one is, like, sometimes when things get crazy with my kids or they're with, like, there was one day that it was raining really hard, and my son decided that it was he just wanted to run around, like, everybody left the playground, and like, his friend was, like, in a stroller, like,
Yeah.
under something, but my son was just like, "Ah!" And so, I always sometimes if things are really crazy, I'll say, "It's like Lord of the Flies in here."
It's true, actually, I would love to do that. We should do a series on references from the classics in literature. I think a
The
lot of our
classic.
listeners have also read the classics, probably more than
Yes.
I have personally, right? And so we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna write that down as a great
Yes.
episode
Yes.
idea. Guys, hit follow on this show, it's just getting better and better, go for it. Hit follow,
That's
let us
right.
drop right into your queue. Good stuff.
Yes, exactly. So, guys, we figured, this listener wanted to hear about our favorite books. So I came up with a list of conversation questions, which we were already, I
You've
mean,
already done
we're already,
that.
before we even got to the list, we started talking about these things. So it's very natural. But I have a bunch of them. We may not get to all of them, but you can see what a good topic this is and how many vocabulary words can come out of this. So you can get some great conversation topics, some great expressions, some great vocabulary words dealing with books.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, because oh my gosh. I mean, people love books. People love novels. And let's not forget, as the internet gets bigger and bigger, as AI and TikTok and all these trends get bigger
Yeah.
and bigger, let's not forget how nice it is to curl up with a book. I feel like Jessica and Aubrey
Ugh.
will want to be in on this conversation too, because they love
Yes.
reading as well. I know they do. Curling up with a book on a rainy day, there's nothing like it. Let's not forget. So, this would be a cool way to connect with someone. And it also shows that you're smart. Let's not forget that. There's a
Mhm.
little vanity in here, but it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to wanna show you are curious about the world, you're curious about history. There's nothing wrong with that, okay?
That's funny. Well, why do you say that?
Why do I say what? That
Why
it's
why do you
okay?
say that? Like, like, I know why you say it, but yeah,
You know
tell
why.
us more about, like, why you say it's like a little vanity.
Well, I think, it's a bit of a humble brag when we say, "Oh, I'm reading Shakespeare
Mhm.
right now," or, like,
Yeah.
because it's not easy to go through these big, thick books, right? It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick up our phones and read Instagram, scroll Instagram.
Yeah.
It's easy to watch
Yeah.
TikTok. But if
Yeah.
you are someone who does that, which I'd like to do it more, um,
Yeah.
you become a more interesting person, right?
Yeah.
So I think by sharing that, you know, but it's kind of it might be an okay kind of vanity. You know what I mean? If you're
No,
talking to someone who does
I
the
know
same
I
thing.
know
Yeah.
exactly what you mean. No, I can appreciate what you mean. I think it's, but if you're talking with somebody who, like, reads a lot and
Yes.
you're talking about reading,
Yeah.
I don't think it is, but I think if it's, like, to somebody who doesn't read at all and you're like, "Well, I'd read this and I read
Yeah,
that."
and also that's just a boring conversation because the person's not gonna have anything to say.
Right.
So let's pick our audiences. We've talked a lot on this show recently about choosing your audience. Do we use huge
Yeah.
words that don't make any sense? Maybe not around people that don't understand them, right? We have to be a little bit selective for connection. Yeah.
Definitely. All right. So, well, we already went over some of these, but so do you like to read for pleasure, guys? So that's a good way to that you can open this discussion. Read for pleasure, right, Lindsay?
Oh yeah. It's a chunk here in English that we use, right, Michelle? Important chunk. Do you
Mm-hmm.
like to read for pleasure? Super common.
Yeah.
And I love an answer could be I'm kind of a bookworm. Love that.
A bookworm. Yeah, that's basically somebody who likes to read a lot. You can describe yourself as a bookworm.
This is a really important expression because I feel like this goes back to our school days. We know it in American English and we use it, right? So learn it, guys. Remember this one. Write this down.
Did you have dear time at school?
Dear time.
Does that Okay, so we had something called DEAR, DEAR. It was drop everything and read.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
was yeah, I still remember that to this day. So
yeah. We had things like that. Like we had a reading contest, like a summer reading contest, right? Like how many books can you read in the summer?
yeah,
You
yeah, yeah.
challenge, you
Oh,
say you're going
summer
to read
reading.
25 books. And there
Oh.
was always that kid that was going to read 50 books. And I was like, how is he going to do that? Because I took it so seriously. Like, how is he going to do that? I can't even, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah, I know, same. No, and I have friends also, people do have reading goals for a whole year. Like my best friend, she had 1 year where she read a book a week.
that's
And
incredible.
people like yeah, I know. People really push themselves
And
to yeah, they kind of compete with themselves. So it's
but I think
I can't do that.
I think it's even more incredible now, like we said, because we have all these other distractions that are
Yeah,
frankly
so many.
flashier, sexier, more fun on the surface level, but less satisfying, right? To go into
Yeah.
Instagram and TikTok. So even more amazing if you do that now in 2023.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So then the next question was, what is your favorite genre? We already talked about that one, but genre means your favorite kind of book. Do you like mystery? Do you like romance? Do you like,
yeah.
what do you like?
Yeah. Yes.
And Lindsay, what's the next question?
Okay, here's a more up-to-date question, right? Do you prefer to read on an e-reader or a paper book? I would say paperback book or a hardcover. I usually say hardcover as kind of the default of hardcover versus
You know what?
Uh,
I might say physical book.
a
I might say
physical
physical
book.
copy.
I agree, because obviously hardcover and paperback are different.
Well,
So that's
that's the next question.
getting into another oh, okay, that's the next question. Fun. We're having so much fun talking about books, Michelle.
I know. We're like, okay. So, well, Lindsay, do you have an e-reader like a Kindle or anything?
No, I don't have one actually. So I do
Excellent.
prefer a physical book. I would say that's me. So if I'm going to read, but I prefer paperback over hardcover just because I travel, I fly a lot and airports and a bag that can only
They're
fit a
also
certain
cheaper.
amount of wires for podcasting. Like I need space for in the bag for everything else. So I can't fit a big hardcover book. So and they're cheaper. You're
Yeah.
right. Yes.
Yes, they are cheaper, so I'm always excited when something comes out in paperback.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I want a physical copy of a book. I've tried Kindles, I've tried, e-readers. I love the feeling of, like, seeing how much you've read
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
just
I agree.
holding it in your hands and the smell, and that's what a lot of people say that they love the smell.
It's a true escape, right? It's an escape from you just don't wanna be looking at a screen again, another screen. I feel exactly the same
Right.
way, and it's so simple
Yeah.
to break out a book, put all your headphones away, all your wires, all your technology, and just take out a book. It's really refreshing.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so we already talked about the next one. Do you prefer paperback or hardcover?
Mhm.
And then Lindsay, have you ever been part of a book club?
I don't know that I have in recent memory, Michelle. How about you?
I haven't. I it's something I would be interested in one day, but I never that's never been something that I've had a chance to do in my free time, but people really, get into it and they like it. My mom does book clubs.
Yes.
So I think they're great.
You know what's also a great alternative to a book club? Article club.
Mm.
So I know people who have organized an
Mm.
article club, which is really cool because you get together with your friends, but you don't have to, commit to a 200-page book in 2 weeks. You commit to a New York Times article or something. And there's a lot of substance to the conversation, maybe some debate. So that's kind of a cool alternative.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
Yeah.
Um And then are you a fast or a slow reader?
Depends on what I'm reading, Michelle. If the book's boring, I'll reread the same page over and
Mhm.
over again because my brain won't hook into it. It's
Yeah,
the same thing with learning a language. If our listeners are bored, they're not going to learn. But if they're intrigued and they want to listen to us today, they are going to learn English with us.
that's right, right. You have to be hooked, I
Yeah.
think, to speed it up. But
Yeah.
I often find that when I'm reading, I have to read the same line a few sometimes I mean, sometimes I'll have to go back to something or I'll realize I stopped paying attention even though like my eyes are moving, I am not really absorbing it.
Yeah.
So I'm not a very fast reader. My sister-in-law is one of those speed readers.
Very cool.
Like
Lucky her.
I know, I don't know how she does it, it's so annoying. No,
Yeah, that
I'm
is
just
annoying.
joking.
That is
She's
annoying.
like she could just sit there and she's like, "Oh, I'm already" like, it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then the last book is, do you like a calm book or do you need a page turner? Which is
And
we were already kinda talking about
is
that.
another great vocabulary piece. There's some
Vocabulary,
great
right.
classic vocabulary here. Page turner, bookworm, the classics. Really important for you guys to have in your vocabulary today. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. All right, Michelle. Do you have any favorite books to recommend? We're going to run out of time here in today's episode. So we got
Yes,
to,
I know. Well, we've been enjoying this conversation
we
so
have
much, but
been.
okay, fine. I'm gonna just recommend one.
Okay.
I like the book. It's called The Paris Wife, and it's by Paula McLean.
Okay.
And it's about Ernest Hemingway's first wife. So it's
Oh,
a
yes.
historical fiction. It's very
Love
good.
that. Love that. All right. I'm going to check that out for sure. Okay, Michelle, we are back. Let's get into our key poll for today because we want to know what their orientation is to reading, right? To books.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So the key poll, guys, if you are listening on Spotify, you can answer this question.
Yeah.
So the key poll is, are you a bookworm? So that means, do you read a lot of books?
Hmm.
And yes or no, let us know. And once we get the results, we will announce that on a future podcast. So we can find out, do we have a large group of readers who listen to the
Yeah, I'm
podcast?
really curious. I think our listeners are really smart, smart,
I think so too.
savvy, in touch with the world. I'm curious if that extends to reading books or if it's more just being in touch with I don't know, the news and what's going on globally in the world. Really excited for it, Michelle. Really good.
For sure. Let us know. All right, Lindsay, what's the takeaway for today?
I mean, relaxing reading is a way to go back in time a little bit, guys, to a simpler day.
Yeah.
It's relaxing, it's fun, I think it's really and more importantly, it's important to be able to talk about reading because if someone is really into books and you
Yeah.
open this topic, you're gonna grab their hearts, you're gonna connect with them right away, and you want this
Yeah.
vocabulary to do it, Michelle.
Yeah, and you will kind of realize which of your friends or what people are, into reading, and
Yeah.
then you'll always be writing to them. Do you have another recommendation? Oh, you have to read this, you have to read that.
That's
So I have like a couple friends that I know are always reading, so I know who to go to.
that's amazing.
And now finally I'm reading too.
And that's amazing, and not to mention the fact that it's an amazing way to learn vocabulary. I mean, it's
That's
just
true.
so we could talk about
That's
that
true.
another day, the benefits for language learning, but today, guys, now you know how to start a conversation about someone's reading habits. So good.
Yes,
All right,
that's great.
Michelle.
Okay, Lindsay,
Right.
wow, this was a lot of fun. Gonna go curl up with my book later. Almost finished with one. I'll let you know how it is.
All right, keep us updated, Michelle. I'll talk to you soon.